Do you know Paul Saladino?
I do. Yeah, I know of his work, and yeah, I like a lot of the things he does. He has some great things.
Yeah, absolutely. He talks about so he eats quite a lot of carbohydrates. I believe he said he eats about 200 grams of carbs, but they're not from refined carbs or refined sugar. They're from fruit and honey as well. What are your thoughts on carbs from fruits?
Well, fruits are an appealing source of food of any macronutrient because they're natural. So they're not junk food, which is fills up most of our supermarkets that are processed, industrialized, refined. Fruits are natural. They grow on trees, that kind of thing, which is good. The problem, though, with modern fruits is, hey, the story is people often say, if we didn't eat anything that wasn't available 150 years ago, most of us would have a significant improvement in health, but fruits were around since Paleolithic times. So for a paleo diet, you should be able to eat fruit. The problem is the fruit from long ago is very different from the fruit today. And that is the fruit today is like a lot of things, it's engineered to optimize certain things that make it appealing and palatable. And for humans, that's sugar, fructose and glucose in the fruit. Today's fruit would be unrecognizable by our Paleolithic
Mm,
ancestors. And you've seen it, with early bananas. They're very
yeah,
small and they're not sweet at all.
they
And
had seeds in them 10,000 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And apples, watermelon. So I think the danger of assuming that fruits are okay because they're natural is a problem because they're not completely natural with fruit today. Um, Personally, I think there's problems with fruit because of the fructose in it. Half of the sugar or a large percentage of the sugar comes from fructose in fruit. And fructose, I think, is an underappreciated health hazard. Now, it's natural, and a little bit of fructose is good. The problem is how much, because glucose, if you look at glucose, the other component of table sugar, sucrose, is made up of glucose plus fructose. The glucose is the sugar that most of us think of. We think of diabetes and glucose in our bloodstream. Almost every cell of the body can metabolize glucose for energy, which is interesting. It makes sense. Fructose is very different. It's because the only cells, other than a small percentage of gut cells, the vast majority of fructose has to be metabolized in the liver. And what is the liver? Well, the liver is, among other things, it's a detoxification organ. And there's what other chemicals go to the liver? Well, the obvious one is alcohol. Alcohol is something else that's detoxified in the liver. It's something else that, like fructose, is addictive. In fact, before 1980, the main kind of liver disease that caused fatty replacement in the liver was called alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it was caused from drinking too much alcohol, and the alcohol goes to the liver converts it to fat, and it damages the liver. Well, in 1980, something happened. A new disease appeared that people didn't recognize at first. They had fatty liver, and everyone assumed, you need to cut back your drinking. And they would say, "Doctor, I've never touched alcohol in my life," and they'd sort of wink and go, "Sure, but you need to stop it," and then that went on. Eventually, children began coming down with these, and these children weren't drinking alcohol. So, long story short, beginning in 1980, there's a new liver disease called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It looks just like alcoholic fatty liver disease, but it's not due to alcohol. And it's now surpassed alcoholic fatty liver disease. In fact, it's the number one cause of liver failure and the number one cause of liver transplants. And this liver failure, this new fatty liver disease, is driven by fructose. And Rob Lustig from the University of San Francisco, Dr. Lustig, has shown that if you cut fructose out of the diet and actually even substituting glucose isocalorically with fructose in kids with fatty liver disease, they can reverse the fatty liver disease in a matter of weeks just by removing fructose from the diet. So this is a problem with fructose, which comes from fruit. The other thing about fructose is it doesn't spike insulin, unlike glucose. It doesn't make the insulin spike. So in fact, the American Diabetic Association used to recommend that for diabetics. Eat fructose, it's sweet, but it won't spike your insulin. The problem is fructose in the liver also drives insulin resistance, which is essentially type 2 diabetes. So it actually makes things worse there. And so fructose in fruit, I don't give it a pass, and I'm very cautious with the amount of fruit I eat just because of that factor. The other factor, of course, is high fructose corn syrup, which appeared, no surprise, in the 1980s. Worldwide, Coca-Cola and Pepsi switched from cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup. And now it's in essentially every junk food. So we all eat, people eat junk food all the time. So we're getting lots of fructose from that. So, you have to, in my opinion, you have to be careful with fruit. Dr. Saladino's a smart man. I respect him, but we agree to disagree on this point.